Welcome to your Ultimate Life podcast, where we help you break free from mediocrity and create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Get your free video series at yourultimatelife.ca.
Action. No, I don't have a clapboard to click and make action like a movie, although you see that all the time. I hope you're watching the video, and if you're not, go to YouTube and watch it. I always pick, you can do whatever you want, obviously, but I always pick backgrounds that represent, that represent something we're talking about. Today's action is acceleration. And I want to talk about this in subtle and powerful ways, because I'm not saying, everything in life has to be about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm not saying every day has to be a flurry of outrageous performance. I'm not saying that. They have a place. Big, hairy, audacious goals have a place. Just a lot of, what do they call that? Massive action has a place. Here's what I want you to consider. Massive action is good, but it can lead to burnout. Big, hairy, audacious goals are fabulous, and they can lead to overwhelm, where you can't get it or you feel behind the eight ball. So using them when they're appropriate is good. I want to talk about action in a lot more subtle ways than just sort of those platitudes that we often hear and sometimes use, okay? Action is the creation exercise. It is the step in creating your life that gets things done. Now, sometimes the action is physical, as depicted in this picture. This guy's, really moving up the hill, and the picture's bigger than that, but I wanted to have the figure large. And he's running up a hill, so indicative of a striving, difficult movement, really getting into the game. Okay. What else? Well, let's think about it, because how does action even come about? There's a saying that says in Old English, as a man thinketh, so is he, or a woman thinketh, so is she. So that means what we think about, the thoughts we entertain, is what we become. There's other sayings that say, the average of the 5 people you hang around with, that's who you become. And the people around you determine your wealth, and all kinds of sayings like that. Why would anybody say that? And why would anybody believe it? Well, let's dig into it. Action starts with thinking. Now, sometimes if there's a loud noise, you jump, and you didn't think about that. The truth is, those kinds of actions are hardwired into the body from, previous experience, from things that happened before. And perhaps even deeper than that, I don't know. If you take a brand new baby and there's a loud noise, I don't know that they have a startle response. I don't know that. I don't think so. Animals, very, very young animals, don't. We got our dog Cooper when he was 6 weeks old, and he didn't have any kind of a startle response. That was learned when the perception came that something loud or sudden could represent some kind of threat or danger, or I got to get out of the way of whatever, right? So those things are learned, and when they get learned, then they become part of a response that takes place without conscious thought. So thinking is first, conscious or unconscious. The second thing is when we think and believe something, whether conscious or unconscious, that is what motivates. If you hear a sound and you do not believe it represents anything, then you don't move. You don't take some action. Think about this. Movies, and they have IMAX and that sort of thing. They're designed to be more and more and more realistic, right? So you go on a roller coaster into a screen, and it's filmed, and the IMAX experience is such that viscerally in your body, you're having those experiences because it appears to your senses to be real. So even sitting in a chair in a theater, you know that you're sitting in a chair in a theater. Your stomach gets up in your throat and you have that experience. because your body for a moment believes that it's real or could possibly be real. So there's a lot to do with the thinking, believing part before there's action. But even if you think something and believe it, in other words, you create the stimulus in the body to do something, if you don't take an action, nothing happens. Nothing is created. Except, now here's a funny exception. Let's say you think, I should call someone for whatever reason. Maybe it's business, maybe it's pleasure. You don't. You find out later it would have been really good if you had. Then that inaction created something, feeling bad. It created a missed opportunity. It created, negative, perhaps self-recrimination. So even inaction creates something. Every choice has a consequence, action or inaction. Now, today we're talking action is acceleration. And now the whole podcast is about creating your ultimate life. And I gave the disclaimer to start with. It's not all about BHAGs and, massive action every day to wear yourself out, but it's about intentional and focused. So I have a phrase, direct, consistent, motivated action. Direct, consistent, motivated action. And I use those three words in front because they're the modifiers that I think have the best chance of you or me getting our goals, getting what we want. Direct action. So let's look at, I'm a business coach, one of the things that I do. And when people are asking me about creating clients, I ask them what they're doing right now. What are you doing to reach out or create clients? Often I will hear something like, well, I'm finishing my website, et cetera, et cetera. And the idea, of course, is when I have a website and people will see it and they'll be attracted, et cetera. Well, that is not direct action. That is not direct action to get clients. That's indirect action. Direct action would be talking to someone, making a phone call, going to a networking event, following up on old leads, following up on people that said maybe or not right now. That is direct action. So when you're thinking about action to accelerate your progress, and making money in your business isn't the only thing this applies to. I'll give you an example. You have a relationship with someone, maybe it's a friend. Something happened that wasn't right. It didn't end well, the conversation. There was a little bit of tension in the air. Indirect action would be, showing up next time with them and smiling a little and just kind of being hopeful. Direct action would be calling them up or visiting and saying, hey, I didn't like the way that ended. Can we do something about it? So there's direct and indirect action. If you want action to accelerate your progress, it needs to be direct action that has the best chance of creating an immediate movement of the needle in the direction that you want. Now, that's true about physical things. Let's say you're trying to get in shape. Direct action would be exercise today or tomorrow, like right now. Indirect action would be starting to look up gym memberships. Okay, so there's a big difference between direct and indirect action in terms of the ability of the action to create what you want. The second word is consistent. So I have taught piano. I'm not now, but I taught piano for about 40 years, off and on, not all the time. Started when I was 17 and I quit with students when I was about 57 or 58, about 10 years ago. And so about over the span of 40 years, I would have a few students. What I noticed is those that practiced every day, even 20 or 30 minutes, but practiced every day, they made a lot better progress than those who practiced a whole bunch, perhaps on the weekend, even if it was more minutes or hours of total practice in between lessons. Isn't that interesting? There's something about the consistency of action that accumulates faster than just the number of minutes. I find that with also my vocal practice. As I mentioned before, I'm a performer, singer. I have 91 songs up in commercial release, and I was just practicing this morning some songs that I'm going to perform pretty soon in a concert. And what I have noticed with my own voice is when I practice every single day, maybe I skip one here and there, but nearly every day, and I spend half an hour, even 2 hours spread out throughout the day practicing songs, nuances, expression, etc. I make better progress, better memory, better retention, better muscle memory. Everything is better than when I practice a lot, but inconsistently. So that's a feature of our ability to learn and retain. Cramming for tests, the legendary sort of thing in high school or college or whatever, is another example. You can cram for a test and pass the test, but the retention is not anywhere near like it would have been if you'd spent the same number of hours spread out through the weeks before the test. Anyway, so direct, consistent, and the third word is motivated. Direct, consistent, motivated action. Motivated, of course, has to do with your state of mind, your intention. If you do something and say, that's good enough, whatever, it is not going to have the same kind of outcome, the same kind of power, the same kind of effect as if you're really motivated to get something done. So this all plays into your ultimate life. Right this minute, are you living the life of your dreams? Yes or no? This isn't an indictment, it's just a question. If you're living the life of your dreams, I invite you right now to reach out and get a hold of me. I'd like to hear how you got there because I love to share the stories. Maybe you want to be a guest on the show. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to do a lot of things. But sharing your journey is so important. And the reason is because there are so many who say that kind of life where I love my life and I have purpose, prosperity, and joy, or whatever your words are, that's not really available to me. And the more examples we each can see of those who have overcome whatever obstacles there were in their life and gotten to a place where they really love life, more examples we see, the more hopeful we are that we can have that too. So if you're living your ultimate life right now, where you love all of it, please reach out. This is a direct request right now. I'd like to get to know you. I like to have all the examples I can, and perhaps there's a message you'd like to share about that. So many people that I meet, just so many, hundreds, who want a venue to share their story, their journey, and so forth. So this is an invitation. Anyway, you're either living your ultimate life or you're not. If you're not, if you are, I just gave you an invitation. If you're not, I'm going to give you an invitation. And that is consider why not. Why not? What's in the way? Often, we point to externalities, my weather or the weather, my health, the economy, lost my job, this, that, and the other. And those things happen, and I'm not saying they have no effect. But what I am saying is we swim in misery. We swim in the effect of those way, 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 way longer than we need to because it's comfortable and easy to blame. So if you want to go from not living your ultimate life, the life of your dreams, to having it, you need to take action. What kind of action? Direct, consistent, motivated action. Now, here's my invitation to you. If you're not living the life of your dreams, okay, no harm, no foul. Take a piece of paper right now, during this, and write down exactly the characteristics of the life of your dreams. I live where? Where is it? I have what kind of business? What does my day consist of? I get up and what? What do I do with my time? Who's around me? What is my morning ritual? What do I do in the morning to start my day? What is my day filled with? Details. What kind of clothes am I wearing? What kind of people am I associating with? Where do I live? What's the house or apartment I live in? What city? What kind of a car do I drive? Do I even go anywhere? Do I stay home a lot or do I go out a lot? Do I travel? Do I write? Like, what is it exactly? And the more detail you have, the more powerful this becomes. Why? Because remember, thinking drives feeling, drives action. Thinking drives feeling, drives action. If you have a vague thought, I want more money. I want freedom. People say that. I want freedom. And that kind of agonized howl usually comes from a feeling that you have so many obligations and you're trapped where you are. That's not true. You can allow it to be true, and as long as you do, you will remain trapped where you are. But it isn't true in the universe. It isn't true because it's true. It's true because you allow it, or I allow it to be true. So the more specific and detailed you are, the more focused your mind becomes and the more your ability goes up to get it. And I'll tell you why right now, because we're talking specifically about action. Well, if you look at that picture with all the details of your ultimate life, your dream life, It is not difficult to pick one of those details and say, what action can I take right now to move toward that detail? It is difficult, like when you're building a building or building a business or building a relationship, it doesn't all happen at once, right? It's something you build. That's why we use that word. Building a business, finding clients, designing a product, connecting with your passion or purpose, designing a product or service, finding people who need it, getting in front of them, creating a mechanism for value exchange, money, and all the rest. There's lots of parts to building a life, a business, a relationship, etc. The more details you have, the better your chance of building. I want you to think about how people get funding. Okay, a capital raise round, right? Seed funding or other rounds. They need a business plan. And the more specifics there are in the business plan, the more market research, the more demonstration of value, the more believable what's in there reads, the more likely they are to get funding. Why? Because there's some details, and the details awaken the sense of possibility, not only in the person building it, but in the investor considering it. The sense of possibility has to be awakened, and that is awakened with detail. So if you're not living your ultimate life right now, action is acceleration. Get it down in detail. Here's your challenge. Here's your action for this episode, or the first of several. Get your ultimate life described, your dream life, exactly what it looks like. And then today or this week, pick one or two, depending on the size of those details, and move toward them. Who do you hang around with? Upgrade that if that's necessary. How do you get dressed? Upgrade that if necessary. One of the most powerful is the creation of a morning ritual, a daily creation process, a warm-up. Well, if you don't know what you're warming up for or to, it makes no sense. Okay, Wimbledon is on as I record this, and a tennis player warming up is going to be different than someone running track. There's going to be some similarities in terms of cardiovascular stuff, but there's going to be some specific things that tennis players do that someone doing the high jump doesn't do, and vice versa. So your warm-up for the day needs to be according to your goals. Let me be more specific. My commitment, my life purpose right now at this time in my life is to help every single person I can realize you can have whatever you want. Your dream life, anything, everything, you can have it, and you can have it now. You don't believe me, or maybe you do, but I help people do that. I share frameworks and tools that melt barriers, move mountains, mobilize superpowers to eliminate fear, obliterate doubt, and help you be who you imagine. 250 million is my goal this year. I'm going to reach 250 million people and help them understand and take action. I have several speaking opportunities every month, stages and things. I have my podcast and LA Talk radio show. All those are about that goal. So that's direct, consistent, motivated action. But it only matters because I have some real specifics in my goal. So if you're not living your dream life right now, get it all detailed and figure out what things you can do now, this week, that is direct, consistent, motivated action to move towards some of the details, because you can't build it all at once. So that's that action. Now, I want to talk a little bit about discouragement, because that comes into all of us. In my book, The Results Equation, and if you want to know how to get from any dream to done, the subtitle on that is From Dream to Done in 5 Simple Steps. Now, they're not easy, but they're simple. 5 simple steps from dream to done. One of the things is about creating the power we need to take action, right? Getting something, if that guy right there in the picture is going to get up to the top of that hill, he better have had good Wheaties for breakfast or whatever, good breakfast, good health, or he's going to stop halfway and quit. All right, he might need to rest, but if he's really motivated and has, decent fitness, he'll get up there. But even with that, you're going to have distraction, you're going to have discouragement, you're going to have failures. Now, failure is not a dirty word. We've done some episodes on it. It's nothing. It's just a data point. It is not getting the outcome you intended. So what? So what? How many Olympic athletes? The Olympics are on right now as this episode goes out. How many Olympic athletes have worked and not gotten the outcome they intended as they worked and meets before and rehearsal and practice and drills and on and on and on. And it didn't work and they didn't shave the second off their time and it didn't. That can't stop you or me, or we can let it, but then that means we're not accelerating. We're not moving up the hill like this fellow behind me, right? Okay. So what do we do with failure? Meaning we tried something and it didn't work. Well, we have a choice. When stuff doesn't work, I listened to a motivational talk. I haven't listened to it for a while, but I used to listen to it nearly every day. Love it. And I'll start again. Those things go in cycles for me. But this particular person said you got to learn to love failure. Failure isn't anything. It's not an indictment on your character. It doesn't mean you're unworthy or your goal isn't worthwhile. It doesn't mean any of that unless you invent that. All it means is I did X and got Y when I wanted to get Z or Z. I did X, I wanted Z, and I got Y. That's it. Any more than that is your invention or my invention. So what is it then? If that's all it really is, I wanted Z and I got Y, it's an invitation to continue. So often we take failure as an indictment of either our character, an indictment of our desire, an indictment of our effort, an indictment of our worthiness. It's none of those things. That's a story that we all have and have had. And you're free right this minute. I give you permission to eliminate that. So here's the second challenge for you. The first one was to write your goal and to take immediate action this week and every week toward one of those details. The second thing is anytime you fail, meaning you get an outcome you didn't want, you get rejected, someone refuses a sale, you fall off the wagon when you're supposed to exercise 5 times a week or whatever your goal is. So you fall off the wagon. Instead of spiraling to negativity, instead of self-loathing, instead of negative self-talk, bashing yourself, simply say, okay, that is the outcome. This is an invitation to recommit, to refresh. It's also an invitation to love yourself for trying. I know personally, and you probably do too, so many people who aren't in the mode of growth, who don't care and are not, quote, trying to grow or improve. Oh, they dream about it. They talk about it. They may bash others who have it. They may ridicule those that are out there busting it. You'll never get it. They'll never make it. They're stupid. But the truth is they're not really trying. And often they're trying to make themselves feel better, perhaps by bashing others. I don't know. Instead, you love yourself for trying. One of the things I do in my morning creation process is I look in the mirror in my own eyes and I tell myself, Kellan, I love you. I would invite you to do the same. Not that you love Kellan, but that you love you. And here's several good reasons. Love yourself just for doing that exercise. It's a difficult thing to start for some. I had a client who once told me after I gave him that assignment and he came back to the next coaching call and said, I'd rather put my hand in a meat grinder because it was difficult for him to look at himself, knowing all of his flaws and shortcomings and failures and in his eyes and say, I love you. Well, you know what? You have every reason to love yourself. You're there doing the exercise. You're trying. You're getting up and getting after it. That is enough reason to celebrate all by itself. Another reason to love yourself is you're a divine being. The Creator doesn't make garbage, and that includes me, and that includes you. And there are certainly times when I've thought otherwise, and perhaps you also. All right. So that is one thing to do. Another thing to do is create a morning creation process. And the morning creation process makes sense when you have that goal thing we did earlier. How do you prepare yourself to move forward on that goal? I don't know, because I don't know what your goal is. But I know over and over again with myself and clients, when I prepare myself for my goals, I do better. I get them done more. I make a little bit more progress, sometimes a lot more progress. And the most important thing, I feel better. Oh, man. It is not, ugh. It is, I'm excited about things. Why? Because I reviewed my goals and I prepared myself and so forth. When you fail, when you do all that stuff and you face plant, that is an opportunity, an invitation to continue. Because the truth is, it didn't work. Whatever you did, it didn't work. Oh, okay. What else can I do? What else can I try? We've all heard the story about Edison and his 1,000 light bulbs. You know, obviously, if he'd quit on 900 or 500 or 2 or something, we wouldn't have had the light bulb. But he didn't. And when people ask him, how does it feel to fail 1,000 times? He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Wow, what an insight. Now, we can look at that and say, yeah, that's just a stupid thing to say. Or you can choose to have that attitude, because when we think of things in terms of failure and indictment, it gets in the way of our action. It's like, you know, that fellow here running up the hill in my picture having a lead weight in a backpack, because that feeling of failure, unworthiness, not good enough, all that stuff, that just slows you down. I don't know if you've ever hiked up a hill with a backpack and then hiked up the same hill or part of it without it. There's a massive difference. And you know, the fun thing, negative talk, negative feeling, personal loathing, all that stuff, those are rocks, and you can drop them anytime. No one can make you carry that backpack, really. Only you, only me, for myself. So if you find yourself in the discouragement phase, that is an invitation to love yourself. It's an invitation to recognize your efforts. It's an invitation to celebrate the fact that you're trying, you're working, you're listening to this podcast. I love you for that. Yes, I'm inviting you to share it. Share it right now with someone you know that needs encouragement. Would you please do that for me right now? Think of someone and share this episode with someone you know that is discouraged, that needs to be loved and encouraged and lifted and blessed. You know why? The truth is you're a divine being, so are they, so am I. The other truth is we face plant. The other truth is action is sometimes hard. The follow-on truth is without action, nothing happens. So the point today is action is an acceleration tool to get to your goals. Fail when you're going to fail, but fail because you're acting, not because you're not acting. Fail on purpose, fail forward, fail fast. You've heard all those things. Forgive graciously and immediately. Love yourself more. Adjust your thinking to positivity. Create specificity, specifics in your goal, and allow those feelings to motivate your heart, lift your soul, remind you how great you are. Live in the vision of what you could and will create. The vision of what you will create is way more powerful than, that's hard, I'll never do that. Because, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for all of us. I invite you, as I always do, to reach out. My commitment is to help 250 million people reach their goals, and that includes you right here, right now. You're invited. Love to talk to you. Love to hear what you're doing, what you're trying, and what you're all about. I have no doubt, none, because I've seen it over and over again that you, no matter where you are, no matter what has happened before, can turn around and move in a different direction. You can sing a new song, set a new goal, have a new idea, take some new thought, create action in the direction of your dreams, right here, right now, and move toward your ultimate life.
Open your heart and this time around, stand.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellan Fluckiger.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet